This should actually be the start of the episode. We have no clue what we're doing here. We just got together in Mumbai. Kunal's in Mumbai for once, and he said, I have a few ideas. I want to do a show where we talk about all the things that have happened in the summer break. And I've zoned out because I was doing MotoGP. So, what have you got for me, Kunal? What has happened in the summer break?
Well, for starters, a lot has happened. I took a flight, came back to Mumbai, but that's not what you're here for, right? Well, Max Verstappen, he's been missing racing so much that, after all those thousands of miles he probably did on a simulator, which you would have commentated on,
And a go-kart.
and a go-kart. He took a golf buggy. He was going racing in a golf buggy, well, for fun. But guess what? Even the overtake he pulled off in the golf buggy was off track limits.
All four wheels off.
All four wheels off. And his stepdaughter, his family were all in it. So he was basically training the next generation of Verstappen racers that it's okay to go off track and overtake.
I think he's proving Fernando Alonso wrong. Because remember what Fernando said about Michael? He has a wife and two kids at home. I knew he was going to break. Max had a wife and two kids next to him, but he went off track and did it. That's a real racing driver for you.
That is
What a guy.
Yeah, what a guy. And I don't think anything's going to make him slow except for him wanting to become slow in himself. I keep looking here because I have a lot of fun stories in
Why have
my...
you got a laptop when we're just supposed to have a sit-down chat?
Because it's a corporate boardroom. So I said, why don't I just get a laptop anyway and play to the gallery?
You're always with a laptop.
Always with a laptop.
Always.
But I'll tell you some more strange things. Gemini, which is a Google AI, actually says that Max Verstappen's child's godfather is Lewis Hamilton. That's not true. That's where AI needs to learn. AI needs to go back and see all the stuff. But that was one of the strange things. Another strange thing.
1 second.
Yes.
How did it come to that conclusion?
So I'll repeat.
Is
Lily,
Yeah.
Max Verstappen, Kelly Piquet's newborn baby.
Yeah.
The godfather to Lily is Lewis Hamilton.
How did it come to that conclusion?
I have no idea.
1 second. That does not add up.
Does it need to? Should anything or everything add
Well,
up?
I know that Lionel Messi is the godfather of Sergio Aguero's son, but that's because Sergio Aguero told that I want you to be the godfather. I
almost don't know these names you've mentioned. Should I need to? I mean, I know Lionel Messi. Okay, I have.
Do you know Maradona?
Of course.
Do you know Messi?
Yes.
You know Messi. Okay, this is a long shot, but yeah, basically Argentine teammates played together, really good friends. But Lewis and Max aren't those close friends.
Or so we think. Maybe
GP
AI knows better.
Maybe they know something we don't.
Yes.
Maybe.
It's artificial intelligence for a reason. It is supposed to be smarter than humans for a reason.
AI has perplexed us. Did that joke land? It didn't? Okay, it landed on Lewis's helmet. It leaves us full of perplexity.
It leaves us full of perplexity. I'll tell you what else is interesting. The whole American chase that Liberty Media is on, 3 races, Drive to Survive, F1 movie, all of that. America has become a Formula One nation. And I'll tell you what I just saw on Twitter a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
There is a man who's stolen a car in a police chase, actually chooses to do a pit stop. He refuels the car.
I saw that.
Completely. Can you imagine? The influence of Formula One has reached thieves in America. That's the penetration of the sport.
And he did it fast.
He was.
It was actually...
It wasn't 12 liters a second, but anyway.
It was more like a Sauber from 2023 pit stop, but still a successful one nonetheless.
He won.
He
couldn't be caught, or at least that was what the end of the clip was.
Well, we didn't see the full story.
Did we not?
We didn't.
I didn't bother. I just saw the pit stop and I'm like, this is damn cool. This is making it to our show this week.
Yeah, I mean, we also didn't see the full story with Valtteri Bottas's nut, but then Mercedes were kind enough to make a documentary on that one wheel nut that stayed on a Formula One car for the longest period of time.
70 hours?
72 hours or something, yeah.
Should have been 77 just for numerology.
If you know what we're talking about, tell us which race we're talking about. We'll see how big of a nerd you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And talking of Valtteri Bottas, we've got Bottas and Perez finally confirmed as the 2 drivers for Cadillac. And my first reaction was Cadillac needs an experienced driver lineup. They need to bank in all those points that they need. Who do they need? They need Bottas and Perez. But guess what? Who are the drivers on the grid after Bottas and Perez with so much experience?
After?
Yeah.
So not before.
Not
because before would mean Nico Hülkenberg.
Yeah.
After would mean. Oh yeah, this is a fun game actually.
Most recent drivers.
Before would mean Lewis. Before would mean Nico. Before would mean Fernando.
Okay, let me simplify.
After would be.
Let me simplify. Let's take Perez and Bottas out of the equation. If you're Cadillac, you want to hire experienced drivers. Ricardo's gone, Vettel is gone,
Yeah.
Raikkonen is gone, so they're out.
Mick Schumacher's gone.
Mick Schumacher, well, Mick Schumacher is still, he was trying.
Yeah,
right?
he's the only person who considers Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, I do.
I don't.
Okay. So there was Zhou Guanyu and Nicolas Latifi, 60 plus races. There's Kevin Magnussen, who still prefers the BMW drive, by the way. And
why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? There's Nick de Vries. There's Nikita Mazepin, 23 odd races or whatever he did. So the number of experienced drivers on the grid available for Cadillac were too few. It was just these two. And like we did in the reel, there's just a shortage of experienced drivers in Formula One, Soumil.
Yeah, big time. And in your first season, would you take these two, or would you take a punt on Colton Herta, who's never driven in Formula One before, or perhaps a Jack Crawford who's in Formula 2, just because it's American? By it you mean the whole notion of the driver lineup, or he's American. You won't do that, right? You'll obviously go for experience. And this actually is a very interesting thing. I was just thinking about it. What are the three big mistakes that Cadillac must learn from previous entries in Formula One, like a Virgin Marussia, Caterham, or an HRT, or the stillborn US F1 team? Number one for me was pick good drivers. They have. That's a clear thing.
From the bunch available, this is the best.
This is the best. You couldn't go better.
They are discard drivers. They've been drivers discarded by world champion teams. Red Bull, let Perez go, and Mercedes let Bottas go. But that doesn't mean they're bad. I mean, Perez has learned so much under Max and Honda and all the stuff that Red Bull's gone through. Bottas has learned with Sauber, which is now going to be Audi, as well as Mercedes and Toto Wolff.
And by that logic, Nico Hülkenberg is a Force India discard. But look at how great a Force India discard is doing. So.
How was he a Force India discard?
Well, 2011 they pick him up?
No. But he was a Williams discard.
Oh, he's a Williams discard.
That's
I'm sorry. Sorry about that. But
there's always a nerve.
He was a Renault discard.
Yes. 2019.
Everyone's a Renault discard, it seems like. That's not bad
Alan
company.
Prost included. That's
Alan
a good
Prost
list to be.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. But the second mistake Cadillac could have made is have not very secure funding, which they do have. They have secure funding. They have General Motors backing them. TWG is a big group globally. They have lots of money. And the third thing is a lack of vision. Because when you think of HRT, Virgin Marussia, Caterham, they came in because there was an F1 entry available. And then what?
Then what? Nothing.
It's just that they couldn't secure that funding for long enough, and things died down. And then 2014 regulations came in. Impossible for Caterham and Marussia to survive when costs are so high. But Cadillac has it planned out. They have everything secure.
So we think.
Well, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, the Andretti's are backing it. The team could have been called Andretti Global, but for political reasons, it's Cadillac. Let's live with it. I'm eager to see how 11 teams go next year and how Cadillac goes. An American team, not powered by an American power unit, not having F1 drivers that are American. I'm also eager to see how the American public takes to it, because will Donald Trump pressurize them into using an American power unit? Will Donald Trump pressurize them into having American drivers? Will he put sanctions on Cadillac?
Will he be alive till that point? Because I'm seeing someone comment that there's not a lot of time left because he's got that medical tape and drip and everything. I don't know. Just what I see on Twitter. Just what I see on Twitter.
You're seeing.
Don't
he's
quote
seeing
me.
all the right news on Twitter, isn't he?
Don't quote me. But hey, speaking of American, we do need to talk about another American driver, although he's Spanish. We need to talk about Alex Palou. He is rumored to be signing for Red Bull Racing, or at least Red Bull are considering Alex Palou for the second seat for 2026. Kunal doesn't watch IndyCar, so I know the question.
Who is Alex Palou?
Yeah, what's the first reaction that you have when I say that an IndyCar driver or an oval racer is being scouted for Red Bull's second seat, where Gasly couldn't succeed, where Albon couldn't succeed, where Lawson couldn't succeed, and where Tsunoda isn't succeeding at this point? What do you feel about it?
My first reading is that Alex Palou is not an answer to the Red Bull second seat. It's Red Bull's hunt to find Max Verstappen's successor. So it's not so much for the second seat. He will share the second seat next year if it all falls in place.
When you say share, does that mean like half a season?
Okay, because they've done that before. Share the garages or whatever. He'll share duties with
Max. That's not out of limits, by the way.
That's not out of limits. But I think they will bring him in for the same reason. Who else can Red Bull Racing get on the table? Leclerc is booked in. Hamilton is booked in. Russell's going to be booked in.
Mhm.
They don't want Antonelli. Piastri's booked in. Norris is booked in. Where's the top talent? Who's the next top talent? Fernando Alonso? Well, he's soon going to retire at some point. Not that I'm saying he needs to.
Considering him.
Yeah, but my point is, who's the big talent? I'll tell you the next big talent that the teams are going to be fighting for.
Alex Dunn.
Gabriel Bortoleto.
Oh yeah, but hasn't he got like a multi-year contract?
It doesn't matter. There's going to be a fight over Bortoleto.
So that's
Even
basically
though-
Kunal saying that Audi is not going to do well in 26.
I don't know about that.
Which is possible.
Which
It's not an unlikely comment to make,
Yeah.
because the only reason why Bortoleto would move is because he's got higher places to go.
Yes, and I would also put it this way: Isaac Hadjar and Bortoleto are going to fight for the world championship at some point. 5 years in the future, but it's happening. But that guy Bortoleto, including the fact that Fernando's managing him, including the fact that he's doing wonders in Sauber.
But are you seeing what Kunal is doing right now? We started a conversation about an IndyCar driver, and there he is completely diverting it to Formula One.
Because the interest. Imagine this. Do you think an F1 driver making it to Indy would make it to our show?
An F1 driver to Indy
Yeah.
is a routine occurrence.
Yeah,
Takuma Sato did it.
Well.
Marcus Ericsson did it.
Okay.
Romain Grosjean did
A
it.
Formula One world champion in recent times, racing in IndyCar, would make it to our show, but these are not world champions.
Well, another world champion has done it. Nigel Mansell, after winning a Formula One world championship.
in recent
I'm an
times.
IndyCar fan. You can tell.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I'm a racing fan, but my point is Alex Palou is not Yuki Tsunoda, Albon, Gasly replacement.
Well,
He's
I'll
Max
tell you
Verstappen's replacement.
why. I'll tell you why he's so good, though.
Please.
People think that the only way to get to Formula One is F4, F3, F2, Formula One. Alex Palou has had the most complete journey of any driver to Formula One in the last 10 years, apart from Brendan Hartley, perhaps. Palou started off doing lots of Formula 4, then Formula 3, Formula 2. After that, he went to Japan, raced Super GTs, did Super Formula, won a race there, was competitive for the World Championship, not the World Championship, for the Championship in the first season. After that, he did a few tests in America, ended up being an IndyCar driver. 6 seasons, he's won 4 championships in IndyCar.
Yeah. I have to ask the question. Shouldn't he stay on in IndyCar and become the most successful driver ever?
Well, he's already in consideration for being one of IndyCar's greats, because nobody has gone in and won 4 and 6.
There's a difference between being in consideration and actually becoming the great. There's a difference between
Well, what
people-
makes you a great? Winning 4 championships? Yes. And he's also won the Indy 500 at last. So he, in my eyes, has nothing to prove there.
Yeah, I would love to see a transfer happening.
Yeah.
And this also goes back to the very fact that I'm glad Cadillac did not succumb for whatever pressure that would have been to sign an American driver like Alex Palou. Not that he's American.
He's Spanish.
He's Spanish.
But he's only 28.
Yeah.
So right age, everything's perfect. And if you think that he's never driven Formula One and it's not going to work out, it is going to work out, because he's tested for McLaren and he's also raced at Le Mans. So physically, I don't think Formula One should be an issue.
No,
The demand is going to be, can he adapt his technique to that Red Bull and to other Formula One cars? And I'm confident about this guy, because what other modern Formula One driver has done Le Mans, Super Formula, Super GT, IndyCar, Formula 2, Formula 3, GP3, everything.
Fernando Alonso.
Good one.
But
Good
anyway,
one. Good one.
Colton Herta, from all the rumors about him driving in Formula One, actually was addressing rumors about him racing in Formula 2 because he doesn't have super license points. And I sort of like that.
That's a whole heap of rubbish. Colton Herta deserves to be in Formula One. He's not a Formula 2 level driver.
I know a lot of Formula 2 drivers who deserve to be in Formula 1. Just because you deserve to be there doesn't mean you should be there. You need to have those points.
Well,
Anyway,
no.
Liam Lawson, who's there? We're going on to some
No,
weird
one
stories.
second, Kunal. Does that mean that if today you take an Oscar Piastri, who's a serial race winner in Formula One, and if you throw him into IndyCar, would he start with Indy Lights or would he start with IndyCar?
Well, he should be starting with IndyCar, no doubt.
Same with Colton Herta.
But is the IndyCar World Championship?
It's not, but it's very tough.
Says who?
They've got no power steering.
Well, okay. Physically tough.
Very.
Versus, I'm not saying IndyCar is bad, but I'm just saying please do not treat it on par with Formula One. Because the craze to be in Formula One is so much higher
I agree.
than IndyCar. So to me, IndyCar is not a stepping stone to Formula One. It's not a bad series. It's very competitive. I love the fact that it's almost a spec series. But it's not on par with Formula One. It doesn't have drive to survive. Nobody wants to make the IndyCar movie. I mean, that IndyCar movie, Driven, was
It's horrible.
horrible.
It's
Like,
horrible.
it was on Champ Car. But anyway, Since we're still on weird stories, we've not moved on in life.
No, we've not.
Red Bull discard Liam Lawson was actually in a World Rally Championship car.
At Goodwood.
Yes, at Goodwood. And he was told that he needs to go within 15 seconds of the guy who was actually racing that car. And he went almost to the 10th of a second. So Red Bull is actually doing all... They're like, we want to test you everywhere. We've tested you in Red Bull Racing. We've tested you in Racing Bulls. Now we'll test you on World Rally Championship. We're not putting you back in Red Bull Racing. So we'll put you in all other cars we have.
Crazy. A 10th. Up the hill climb.
Yes.
Wow.
He was given 4 practice laps.
Well, he's Kiwi. They have it in their DNA. But,
says who?
Well, they've got rally fields everywhere.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, if I was a Kiwi, I'd go rally driving all day long. But I'm not a Kiwi. I'm a Mumbaiker. So I do rally drive, but at 6 kilometers per hour, with a 6 kilometer per liter average. It's not the
Avoiding
same.
all the potholes.
Yeah, it's not the same.
In the monsoons.
It's not the same.
Another weird story. George Russell has actually paid back 1.5 million pounds that was spent towards his racing career by his father.
What?
Firstly,
how do you be indebted to your dad?
We
all are. Me especially. But like that's a sentimental thing, right?
No, yeah, it's a great point. But it's like this: when you know you're committing to the path of a professional athlete. This is in all sports, not just motorsport. You actually have a separate account for taxation reasons. You have a separate account for accounting reasons as well. That if you get a sponsor, the money goes in there, and then you show that as earnings and expenses. So his father would have also done the same thing, that I'm giving you this for us to spend. The surprising part is not the payback. It's all drivers do that. There's somebody who's always betting on future earning potential. The surprising part is there are two surprising parts. That his father had 1.5 million pounds. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money,
right? And second, that he spent just 1.5 million pounds to make it there,
which is very surprising.
Which is
you'd almost do that in Rotax karting, I suppose.
No,
right?
not a 1.5 million.
But if you're competing for a top team,
it's about 150,000 euros.
But overall, in your karting journey,
for example, at one season in F2 is about 1.5 million pounds or thereabouts.
But the journey to
the whole journey
karting
is at least a 3, 4, 5 million pound, depending on your talent, depending on who's backing you, what grants you get, and so on. But
and also competing in the karting.
So anyone thinking George Russell actually was not from a rich family, well, if your dad's got a 1.5 million pounds to spend only on motorsport, that's a good sign.
So would that be going to George Russell Private Limited and then
George Russell? Most of it is first name, last name racing. You leave it at that.
George Russell Racing. GRR.
GR.
Nah, forget that.
Okay.
Hey, speaking of interesting stories.
Yes.
We're on a desk. This is not a round table. It's a table. It's got lots of seats. But there are no world champions. But Formula One did a round table where they had multiple world champions. They had Jackie Stewart, they had Emerson Fittipaldi, they had Nigel Mansell, they had Jacques Villeneuve, they had... who else did they have? They had a few drivers.
Andretti.
Mario
Mika
Andretti
Häkkinen.
and Mika Häkkinen.
And they did not have Kimi Räikkönen, who took offense to not being invited.
That's sad.
Did you watch it, by the way?
I watched the first 5 minutes and then I got a phone call saying, sir, your Swiggy order is
didn't
here.
Watch it. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't.
Just excuse. I watched the first 20 seconds, which was the clip on Twitter, because it allows F1 to just post a little clip. And then I was just wondering, what makes an F1 legend? Is every former world champion a legend?
Well, yes.
Nico Rosberg?
Yes.
Why?
Why? The struggle.
So
Brittany.
So Nikita Mazepin has struggled. Does that make him an F1 legend?
But did he beat Mick Schumacher?
You mean in the car?
You're forgetting, Kunal. He is the only person to beat Lewis Hamilton in the same car, in equal machinery. I mean, Jensen did that too, but for a world championship.
I'm not debating Rosberg being a legend, or for that matter, any driver. I'm saying, is every former Formula One world champion a legend? Why don't you tell us?
You're saying you're not debating it, but you're debating it.
No, I'm just trying to understand. Basically, we've got some 34, 36 world champions. Are you saying that there are only 36 world champions? Are you saying all former world champions are legends?
Yes.
Okay.
Who isn't?
I don't know.
Well,
is KK Rosberg a legend?
I was thinking of the same thing, because only one race win. Exactly. And only one win throughout an entire season.
I think that's a legend. I mean, to win a
amazing,
race,
yeah.
to win a championship, just one race win in the season by half point, wasn't it?
No, half a point
Was
was
some-
Prost and Lauda in
Yeah.
84.
Yeah.
KK won by a bit more, but on the last in the last race, because of course, if you win only one race, you have to win the championship in the last race. But that gets me wondering. And if you guys are motorsport fans like we are, MotoGP, Juan Mir, he won 2020, the COVID season, while only winning one race, and that was in fact his only MotoGP race win ever. So he became a world champion with a grand total of one career race win. Does that make him a legend? I think it does.
Yeah.
The story is legendary.
My question still stands. How is a driver classified as a legend?
Let's-
Is it? Let's ask the audience.
Yeah, you know what? Let's frame another definition. A legend. So in my eyes, world champion is legend. But when you think of legendary drivers, who comes up to mind? Pastor Maldonado, legendary, surely,
Nicolas Latifi.
legendary. Nikita
Nikita
Mazepin, legendary. Will Lance Stroll go down as a legend? I think he
He
will.
already is. Which
No, who else? Who else? Unironically now, let's put that question.
Michael Schumacher. Ayrton
Apart from the
Senna.
world champions,
Apart from the world champ. Rubens Barrichello is a legend. He won the NASCAR Brazil Championship.
Yes.
25 years after his first Formula One win.
isn't he 53?
Yes. Is there
Wow.
an age where you can't be a legend at?
No, you can, because Tony Kanaan in IndyCar. No, Helio Castroneves, I'm sorry. Even he won the Indy 500 at around 50, didn't he? He's won. I'm forgetting the exact number, but he won in his late 40s or early 50s. So the Brazilians have something special going on. They really do.
They do. Yes. Which brings me to our last point. Will Formula One cars actually cross 400 kilometers per hour in race trim, in qualifying trim in 2026? That's what Toto Wolff has said, that's how powerful those engines are.
Will they?
I don't think so. I think they will artificially hit a ceiling at some point. I mean, safety first.
Weren't we hearing that the engines would top out in the middle of a straight and then the cars would decelerate instead of accelerate?
Yeah, 2026 is so murky that I just get a feeling they're going to fix all the regulations just to give us a show. Not that I have a problem with it, as long as they don't fix results.
I just can't wait for Catalonia. Are we going to Catalonia next year for testing?
Yeah, I think so.
I
Right?
think so.
Yeah, they will.
Did we go
F1
to
teams
Cat-
want to go there, but Bahrain pays everyone.
Did we go
take
to
that.
Catalonia this year?
I can't remember.
We should have these discussions off the camera. And by the way, one thing for you guys to know, Kunal and I have a terrible memory. F1 Stats Guru is the one with the good memory. We're the ones who note things down and try to remember stuff, apart from weird random stuff that we've discussed. But that test session, the first test session of the 2026 cars,
No one's going to get to see it.
I
It's
think
only
that's
for
what it
private
should be
tourists.
like. I think that's what it should be like. Because you remember 2009 and the confusion around Braun and the double diffuser?
Yeah.
I remember reading the news reports and I was like, what on earth is going on there? And then 2014, the first time we saw that, that was the most depressing day of my life.
Yes. So Formula One will control the narrative. And that means we are ready for Sun Food, right? Or are we talking about more stuff? We are what? Almost 20 minutes in, Soumil?
Wow, we said 12. We said 12.
Yes.
We're at 20.
On that note.
Or do we want to continue? Because so we're limited by a security guard from outside coming in and telling us that, sir, your booking's done.
We're limited by Soumil always complaining we go 50% overtime. And I say, no, actually, we go 100%.
No, but that's a problem when we're online. In person, we could go for 3 hours.
Absolutely.
Okay, one last talking point though, if we do have to talk about one last thing, since we do have the time. What could it be?
Sun Food says no to Formula One. Every other race circuit, race promoter, country wants to host Formula One. Sun Food said, guys, guess what? We're off the calendar from 2026.
Why?
They're saying we want to bow out on a high. We've had record crowds thanks to Max Verstappen. We want to say goodbye when the times are good. And they are actually gunning for IndyCar or NASCAR
Yes.
contracts. So they are letting go of Formula One.
More muscle.
They're letting go of Formula One. Maybe they're giving us a hint that maybe Max could go race there at some point. But I think it takes a lot of guts to say no to Formula One.
Well, that's what the Dutch are, right? They're very straightforward.
That's what you think. Unless your girlfriend is Dutch.
Well, she'd be taller than me for once. Like they're all 5'11 or 5'12.
That is so generalized that they're always so straightforward. They're they are tall.
They are
I'm
tall.
not denying that. But either way, I'm just saying it takes guts to say no to Formula One. Formula One is saying, you're hosting a race, you're paying me $40 million, and you can only do it on the 15th of December. And you say,
I
Yes,
hope they
sir.
don't regret it, because one circuit actually rejected Formula One and are badly regretting it to the point that they say that they want to come back.
Portimao.
Sepang. Portimao
Sepang.
was dropped
Yeah.
by Formula One.
Yeah.
Portimao has a special place here. But Sepang dropped off. And they made a choice. This was around the time when Liberty Media didn't take over Formula One, wasn't it? Like 2017 end?
Yeah. I mean, just were.
Just were, I'm not exactly
And
sure.
they also were like, Singapore is 1.5 hours away. So why would people.
Oh no, yeah, the
come?
takeover had happened by that point. So when Sepang dropped out of Formula One, the takeover had happened. Remember, the logo change happened at the end of 2017.
Yeah.
So Sepang dropped off in the middle, and they said we don't want to continue. I don't know if it was costs or they were like
It's always cost.
the costs, the attendances, nothing really was working out. And remember, at that point, overtakes were not happening because the cars were huge and wide, and the last few races weren't quite very good. But now Sepang wants to come back. They
India
really do.
wants to come back, and South Korea wants to come back.
Everyone wants to come back.
Argentina wants to come back.
Thailand wants to come back.
Yeah.
South Africa.
Okay.
Wait, yeah.
On that note,
we should end. This was, what are we calling this show again for all the people? It's Kunal's creation, so we'll put him on the spot.
Inside Line F1 podcast.
A special episode.
Yeah. We'll probably. Oh, why don't you guys tell us if we do this every week? We just discuss current affairs in Formula One, strange stories, fun stories, not race specific stories that stand the test of time, because Barrichello winning a NASCAR Brazil championship will stand the test of time. Tell us what we could name it.
Yeah, and tell us what you like about the show. Don't say the desk and this frame, because
This
we
is
might
temporary.
Not, yeah, no, for some, you could. I'm going to guilt trip you into leaving Mumbai. But yeah, no, we might be around. We will be around. We will do more shows if you guys enjoy this. So let us know down in the comments if you like this, and we will catch you for the normal proceedings for the Inside Line F1 podcast. I'm not going to say which race, but of course, every race is a preview, review, mid-race show as well. So catch you for all of that good stuff. Subscribe to us, and see you very soon.